Francis Ngannou. Think you know him? Think again. Beyond the knockouts, the real story is insane. You only know the power. You don't know him. From the sand mines of Cameroon to a Spanish jail and homelessness in France. Get ready for 10 things you didn't know about Francis Ngannou.
I think the girls with their nails done now.
One look at Francis Ngannou will be enough to tell you that he is a born fighter. But what you might not know is that his father was actually a man who held a pretty formidable reputation as a street fighter in Batié, Cameroon. Young Francis was so physically large when he reached adolescence that he was approached by many local gangs to join. I mean, who wouldn't want this towering behemoth on their side? But Ngannou decided that he did not want to be like his father. Instead, dreaming of a career in boxing like his idol, Iron Mike Tyson. Safe to say, his decision paid off in a huge way. But how did Francis become such a threatening physical force at such a young age? Well, sure, some of it was genetics.
One of the things that I read about you was that you worked in a sand mine.
Yeah, that was growing up. I was about 10 years old when I started that.
But at the age of just 10, Ngannou began working on a local sand quarry, putting in daily shifts of grueling work that saw him endlessly shoveling sand. That's the type of hard labor that builds a certain level of core strength. And by the time he was in his teens, he had the physical strength of any fully grown man. So if you're wondering why his ability to score knockouts is so good, it probably has a lot to do with him putting his body through the ringer during these formative years. So if you're trying to figure out what the best base for mixed martial arts is, don't go to your boxing gym or to the BJJ mats. Nope, head straight for the sand quarry. So many fighters find their passion for combat sports at a young age, whether on the wrestling mats in school or by taking classes in boxing or Muay Thai in their spare time. But for Ngannou, despite working himself into frankly ridiculous physical condition throughout his teenage years, he didn't actually set foot in a fight gym until the age of 22 and didn't find his way to mixed martial arts until he was 26. 1 year later at 27, he made his pro debut and managed to win by way of armbar. Not bad for a total novice to grappling. In fact, out of Francis' first 4 wins, 3 of them came by submission, and they were all won through a different technique: armbar, guillotine, and arm triangle. The story of how Ngannou came to find himself on European shores is a truly epic tale. The type of story that wouldn't seem out of place in a Hollywood script, especially when you consider how far his career eventually took him. But as a 26-year-old, with 4 years of boxing training under his belt, Ngannou decided that he could not achieve his dreams in Cameroon, and so he left the entire continent of Africa. Trying multiple times to cross into Spain, having some incredibly close calls with death all the while. In fact, when he finally did touch down on Spanish soil, he was jailed for 2 months for illegally crossing the border. So when he finally arrived in his chosen destination of Paris, he was broke, homeless, and had no prospects of a future. Or at least that was the case until a sympathetic coach saw his potential and allowed him to train at their mixed martial arts gym for no cost. How's that for a solid goal prediction? But for as much as Ngannou was highly impressive as a prospect, winning his first bout with a submission, he was set up for a second fight that proved to be too much too soon. His opponent, Zoumana Sis, was an 8-fight veteran with an impressive 7-1 record. And unfortunately for Big Francis, that legendary punching power that we all know him for these days, it still wasn't enough to get him the win here. Ngannou was far too unrefined and lost the fight by unanimous decision. However, all hope was not lost, and this would be his last defeat for the next 5 years until he reached his first UFC heavyweight title shot against Stipe Miocic. You all remember when Dana compared Ngannou's punching power to a Ford Escort?
Francis Ngannou has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punch is the equivalent to 96 horsepower, which is equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can.
Well, he wasn't lying. Francis, at the time, broke the world record for the hardest ever recorded punch, delivering a score of 129,161 units of power on a custom-built machine. This was enough to send Dana into total hysterics, so much so that he completely ignored the reigning champion Stipe Miocic in favor of glazing the Predator at every opportunity. And though Francis would win their rematch, in their first fight, Stipe showed up and proved that he was the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time with a dominant performance. That loss to Miocic was followed by a bona fide stinker against Derek Lewis that practically ruined Ngannou's reputation. In other words, he needed to step out of the limelight and work on some things, both technically and mentally. The fans ridiculed him. Dana and the UFC lost faith in him, and Ngannou knew that it would take a huge amount of effort to earn himself a second crack at UFC gold, especially when you went from Dana's prized golden boy to an athlete that he openly hates on in the media. But what happened next was truly insane, and a testament to the type of character possessed by the Predator. 4 knockouts in a row, all in under 75 seconds of the first round, and $150,000 in Performance of the Night bonuses to go along with it. Curtis Blades, Yarginho Rosenstrike, and former champions Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos, all of them fell in the earliest of exchanges, one of the greatest rebounds in the sport's history. Jump forward a few years, and after winning the UFC title and defending it against Cyril Gane, Ngannou's tumultuous relationship with the promotion, and in particular Dana White, led to him eventually leaving the UFC in favor of a move to PFL. But more on that later. What is important to note here is that Ngannou's newfound freedom gave him the opportunity to finally fulfill his dream of becoming a pro boxer. But did he just take on some random scrub to ensure the W?
The WBC Heavyweight Champion Tyson Fury and his team have announced that Fury will fight former UFC Heavyweight Champion Francis Ngannou at the end of October in Saudi Arabia.
Nope, his fight with Tyson Fury was a battle that shocked both the mixed martial arts and boxing worlds. But here's what you might not know. Despite losing, Ngannou's performance and the subsequent knockdown of the undefeated world champ were so impressive that the WBC decided to list him as number 10 on their official rankings. Not bad considering it was his boxing debut, right? Ngannou's PFL deal was a huge move for him as a free agent, and it came with a number of very interesting perks. Ngannou would, of course, be free to pursue boxing fights at his own discretion.
Francis a deal that would have made him the highest paid heavyweight in the history of the company. More than Lesnar, more than anybody. And he turned the deal down.
While also serving as an equity owner and the chairman of their PFL Africa League. But one of the biggest things that Ngannou pushed for in this deal was something that didn't even benefit him directly. He made sure that every single one of his PFL opponents would be guaranteed a fight purse of a whopping $2 million. Basically, Francis has reinvented himself as someone who campaigns for what is best for the fighters. And given his age, he's clearly not going to be active in the fight game for much longer. However, his imprint will likely still be felt in years to come. That same charitable spirit has been on full display through Ngannou's work as a philanthropist. The Francis Ngannou Foundation is a charity that is run on both his personal funds and donations, and it was responsible for setting up the first mixed martial arts gym on Cameroonian soil.
Bon voilà, moi j'espère juste qu'il comprend que c'est de la comédie parce que si c'est vraiment le combat, même quand il le voit, même déjà la taille, je ne pense pas qu'il peut, voilà, il peut vraiment combattre, même s'il s'entraîne même 30 ans.
But it's not just fight sports that Francis has his eye on. The foundation has impacted 26,000 different beneficiaries, donating educational materials to schools and academic centers in impoverished areas, as well as entire computer labs in smaller villages in the nation. Francis Ngannou is a man who knows what it is like to be in deep, deep poverty, even well into his adult life. And so the fact that he has chosen to give back is far from surprising. He's a fighter in the cage, sure, but he's fighting for something a lot more important outside of it. But what do you guys think of the career of Francis Ngannou overall? Is he your heavyweight GOAT? Or if not, how does he fit into your own personal top 5 or even top 10? Let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, check out one of our other videos on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.